it's like anxious feeling. It kind of weighs you down sometimes. It's kind of like a dream sucker, if you will. There's certain things you feel like you won't be able to do, or it just, hoovers over you. At least for me, I know some people are just like, girl, they go get that money when they get it. But for me, it's like in the way. Hello, beautiful people from across the lands. It is your girl, Miss Hopeful Reality. Join me on my journey to financial independence by eliminating debt, creating multiple streams of income, and inspiring others to dream again. Welcome to my Debt Diaries. First, I believe this will be the first YouTube video. I am going to break down my total of six-figure debt with you. Talk about what it is, how I got it, how it makes me feel, and what I plan to do about it. So my total debt, and I have my little notes here. My total debt is $102,030. How did I get all of this debt? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. So let's start. Student loans. The cousin we love to hate. My total student loan debt is $83,011. So about 40,000 of that is from my undergrad, and then, well, maybe a little bit more, probably about 60,000 of that is from my undergrad, and then the other 20 is when I decided to go back to get my master's. The ironic thing about my student loan debt is that I actually had a scholarship that paid for my tuition. So at least during my undergrad, I had a scholarship that paid for my tuition. It was the Board of Governors scholarship, and you had to maintain a certain GPA to keep that scholarship, which I did, studious child. But room and board. So a lot of my debt from my student loans was from room and board fees. I was even thoughtful enough to get a job on campus. I was able to hold that job for at least 1 year, where I was like, they called it RA, so it's like a residence assistant. So with that job, I had free room and board. So for like 1 year, I had free room and board plus free tuition. But the other 3 years, I acquired about 60,000. Well, the first year, freshman year, during that time, you had to live on campus your first year. So, and they had like new, residence building during that time. And of course, you're all green and naive and you want to be in the prettiest building. And it was crazy expensive. Then I eventually moved off campus, but even if you live off campus, there still are some room and board fees that you pay as far as having access to the library, the gym. If you don't use any of that stuff, you're still paying for it. So my student loan debt situation is very unique, as a lot of it is from room and board fees, which is like, it's crazy because initially my education was free. It was because I maintained and kept that scholarship. So it's crazy, except for my, when I went back and got my master's, like I had to, pay for my education. I wasn't able to get like a scholarship or, I forgot what they're called, where you can basically, go to grad school for free. So I had to use the student loans to pay for that, for my master's. And then next is auto loans. So I have a total of $29,019 in auto loans. I swear, those who know me personally know I've had the worst luck with cars. And because this is the diary, we're going to talk about it. My debt diary. So y'all gonna get all the details. So my very first car, I actually got during my undergrad, and I used some of my refund money to get the car. So that car technically wasn't under an auto loan, kind of under the student loans, but whatever. Second car, and with that car, like I was super naive. All I knew to do with a car is to put gas in it. And that's literally all I did for 5 years. I did not get the oil changed one time. Probably like maybe a year or so before it gave out on me. But I don't know how or what in the world. It was just bad. So that car gave out on me. Got a second car, my Jeep. I loved that Jeep. Big body. What did I call her? What did I call it? Big Bertha, that was her name. Burgundy Jeep, Big Bertha. Big Bertha had problems though. every time I turned around, I was putting money into that car, and it got super frustrating because I put more into keeping the car running on top of, keeping up with the monthly car payments. And that's just backwards. And so, it got to the point where, I had a huge expense on the car. I had an engine problem. And I think it was like, I was looking at like $1,400 to $1,600 to get it fixed. And I didn't have it. I did not have it at that time. And so, and I didn't know what to do. So I tried to trade the car in. The equity was too high. It was an upside down car. So the amount of money that I owed on it did not equate to the value that it had, and just no bank or car dealer was willing to take it. And at the time, my credit was beyond trash, and so they weren't willing to work with me at all. So they was like, you and Big Bertha can go, pretty much. So I didn't have any options, and so my car sat for about 6 months. And during that time, this was during like the beginning stages of my financial journey, I began immersing myself and educating myself on, credit and, debt freedom and things like that, budgeting. And so I began to, work and improve on my credit. But in the meantime, your girl caught the metro. I mean, luckily I am in a very transit area. I live in the DMV area. So we have the metro, there's buses, there's electric scooters, like there's, temporary cars that you can rent out and drive. Like I was doing it all for about 6 months, which actually kind of got expensive, on top of still maintaining the car note. Y'all just put, I know, and the car insurance for 6 months. Because it just was one of those situations where I didn't want to just completely ignore it and let it go, but I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't have any options, and I didn't want to not pay it and just put my, financial presence or credit, if you will, just in the hole. Like I did not want to repossession on my credit. And even though some people advised me to do that, I just didn't want to do that. So I continuously paid on that. And then during that time, about like 6 months, I was able to get an auto loan through a car dealer, but they was still not willing to take Big Bertha because the equity was just too high. So I basically had these 2 auto loans, 2 car payments, and then I took the insurance off the Jeep. And then, the other bank came for me and was like, hey, you can't have this car and not have it insured. We're gonna, automatically put an insurance on it if you don't do something about it in X amount of days. So I'm like, I have to get rid of this car, but I don't own the title to it, so I can't sell it. So I'm boo-hooing, crying to the bank, trying to explain to them, like, I had to get me another car. This car has been sitting idle for 6 months. Like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I have to get rid of it. And so with some back and forth, they were willing to give me the title to the car to sell it and convert that auto loan into a personal loan. So I was able to sell Big Bertha for $500. Just a moment of silence right there. Yeah, and I owe over, how much do I owe? Well, now it's down to 3, but down at the time I owed over $6,000 on the car. So it was just like I just had to take that loss for the sake of saving my credit. Here I am with still technically, 2 auto loans. I still pay on that personal loan now that was converted into a personal loan. And then I have this other big auto loan that's just sitting on there. And that's it. That's all my debt is. Student loans and auto loans. I have no credit card debt. I've never owned a credit card in my life. Ever. First of all, I always got denied, even for a store card. And even now, it's just credit is just something that's like, and I know I need to work on it, but I eventually do want to at least start off with a secure card, but I've been doing pretty fine with that one. But eventually I do want to get one because I know, my credit is okay. It's not horribly bad, but it still needs work. But I know, getting a secure card will help skyrocket it up there. And so that's pretty much it of what I have in my debt. So let's talk about how it makes me feel. Those of you who have debt, especially in this amount, it's like a numbing feeling. For a long time, I avoided. I didn't even want to. It took me a minute to actually sit down and just look at my numbers. It's like anxious feeling. It kind of weighs you down sometimes. It's kind of like a dream sucker, if you will. There's certain things you feel like you won't be able to do, or it just, hoovers over you. At least for me. I know some people are just like, girl, they go get that money when they get it. But for me, it's like in the way. It's in the way. It's like this big old mountain that's just in the way. And so it really is heavy. But I do, I do have other moments where I feel a little hopeful, and I don't want this to be a stampede or a stop in my life where it's just going to keep me stagnant. So, what I began to do is master the concepts of finances. And one was starting with mastering my budget, that I have, gotten really, really good at. Also just really getting comfortable and just looking at it, in the face, like, what's up? I see you. I know how much you is. And really looking at those numbers and just being really honest and transparent and breaking it down and seeing what financial decisions that I made, that put me in the situation today. And I think one of the first things to do is to face it. And so, that is pretty much today's debt diary. And what I hope to do is just take you all along the journey. Hopefully by the next video, that number will go down more and more. So this is a real time journey. Well, by the posting of this video, it's technically real time unless you're watching it like years later or whatever. But it is my hope that me sharing my journey with you all, it will be an inspiration to you, to keep going. So what I would like to do at the end of every video is to give you, action steps on, your journey. And I just don't want you to sit here and listen just like, oh girl, I feel bad for you. But if you're in a similar situation, as I am, you may have feel hopeless. You may feel just like it's just too much. There's no way I'm going to get out of all of this debt. I really want you to be encouraged and just, take small steps at a time. And one of the first things to do is to look at your numbers. How much do you owe? Where is it coming from? How did you get here? Just look at it. It's just numbers. They're not going to beat you up, at least physically, maybe on the inside, but they're just numbers. Look at them and see, so you can get a full picture of just where you are. The next is to, master your budget if you haven't done so, if you're not in that space yet. I really, really think before even, going on a debt journey or starting a debt journey, you really, really need to master your budget. And I'm going to get into that, in another video, on what that looks like, or, maybe I'll just link it up here, whatever that video is. But master your budget. And once you begin to master that, and looking at your financial situation and knowing what you can do, then begin to set out a plan on what your debt freedom journey is going to look like. But whatever you do not allow it to keep you at a stand. So I hope this debt diary entry series was fun, but also inspiring at the same time. Until next time, dream, believe, and achieve.